She slowly slid her foot between the two rows of shelves, then picked up a piece of cardboard from the ground and carefully inserted it into the gap between her foot and the shelves, filling the side space. Soon, her foot was tightly stuck by the cardboard. Next, the girl took a deep breath, pressed her right leg firmly with both hands, and finally summoned up her courage. She didn't know how much time had passed when she woke up from the coma. Her dislocated right foot had been forcefully pulled back into place, and intense pain swept over her entire body instantly, making her body tremble uncontrollably. But time was running out. She had to fix the dislocated bone as soon as possible to regain her mobility. Otherwise, trapped in the cold storage at 18C, she would freeze to death in at most 10 or 20 minutes. So she first wrapped 2 sticks of equal length with tape, then wrapped her foot with cloth, and slowly put her shoe on bit by bit. Every slight movement made her whole body twitch uncontrollably. Finally, she endured the excruciating pain and fixed the sticks on both sides of her ankle, barely regaining the ability to move. However, after all this turmoil, the heat in her body was already exhausted. If she didn't get any supplements, she would starve to death before rescue arrived. But the food in the cold storage was already frozen solid, impossible to eat. Hungry and freezing, the girl had no choice but to slump to the ground in despair, waiting for death to come. By then, she had been trapped in the cold storage for a full 4 hours. Not only did she have no thick clothes to resist the extreme cold, but she was also wearing only a short-sleeve shirt and sandals. In the cold storage at 17C, she shivered uncontrollably and a layer of frost gradually formed on her exposed skin, with severe frostbite marks appearing on her face. To make matters worse, not long before, she had accidentally been hit hard on her right leg by a heavy iron door, causing a dislocated femoral head in her foot. She couldn't stand or walk, and every touch sent a sharp piercing pain. After struggling to reset her ankle, she had exhausted all her strength. To survive, the girl had to force herself to eat the food left by the mice, holding back her nausea. After eating, the girl knew she couldn't just wait to die. She had to find a way to save herself. So she started rummaging for supplies and was pleasantly surprised to find a piece of clothing in her bag. But instead of putting it on, she tore it into pieces without hesitation, then wrapped her hands and feet with the pieces and secured them tightly with tape, trying to keep her limbs warm and avoid freezing stiff. However, in the cold storage at 18C, this negligible amount of clothing was nothing more than a drop in the bucket for the girl. Soon, her toes turned purple, and her whole body trembled uncontrollably. Even so, she didn't give up hope of survival. Instead, she turned her head and slowly looked at the cold air blower spinning continuously on the wall. A bold idea suddenly came to her. She first struggled to take down a cardboard box, poured out the French fries inside, then took the box apart and spread it into a large piece of cardboard. Next, she tore off the excess part of the cardboard, leaving only 2 large squares, and tore off a few pieces of tape. Finally, she stepped on a ladder and slowly approached the cold air blower. Braving the impact of the extremely cold, strong wind, the girl struggled to hold up the cardboard, trying to block the 2 air outlets. The piercing cold wind kept rushing over her body, almost freezing her blood and making every movement extremely difficult. But she couldn't care about that now. She had to block the air outlets as soon as possible, otherwise she would freeze to death here soon.